thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
What I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my God.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
Back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock your socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How ya doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologists' claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. I forgot to check to make sure that I was all focused and everything. All right. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at a pastor's message for angry atheists. Angry atheists that just hate God. They want to huff and puff and blow the churches down. Apparently, this guy paints it as atheists having just such a personal problem with God himself. And so he is going to be discussing his thoughts and views and, I guess, advice, giving advice. I'm super quiet. Oh. Huh? Okay, I bumped it up a little bit. How's that? Is that any better? I don't know. I'm hearing myself fine. Yeah. Sounds about the same. Yeah, I don't know. Mine's like, in the green, peaking in yellow. Yeah. Okay. Maybe turn the volume up on your device. Anyways, so we're going to be taking a look at this pastor's message to angry atheists. This particular video has been covered by another creator here on YouTube. That's Professor Plink. I've got Professor Plink's video linked in the comments. We've had some cordial discussions before, and he seems like a pretty good creator. So check out his video and let him know if you like it or not. But in any case, you're going to get to hear my unfiltered opinion about this particular pastor's message for angry atheists. So if you want to fuck around and find out how much I fucking hate God to the very core of my being, then please stay tuned. All right, so if you're new here to the channel, we have a sort of a set list that we kind of go through. We start with comments, and then we start with Today I Learned, then we go to the comments, and then Abusive stops by to explain some shit really poorly, and then we hit the response video. And then we do the Skeptic Mafia comments. So we've got a full slate tonight. Abusive is ran and ready to go. And in case you're wondering, I am drinking tonight. Wow, it looks a lot worse on camera. But this is Florida Man beer.
Oh my god.
It's not real.
Swamp water.
It nearly looks like swamp water. I know.
You
I
have
see.
been blessed by Christ. Now go forth and suck my dong.
It looks better than in person. But it's Florida Man beer, and so it's a craft beer from down in Florida. I promise you, I'm not going to turn into an alien by drinking this, but it's pretty good beer. All right, so if you guys don't know, also here on this channel, we like to donate to charity every month, and we donate with the proceeds that we make off of this channel. So if you want to help us out to donate to charity or whatnot, which I believe that we're donating to that entrepreneur charity this month. Operation Hope. We're going to be donating to Operation Hope, and they provide services and everything like that to Black entrepreneurs to help them get their business started or keep their business running. And so we are going to be helping that charity out this month. So if you want to be awesome, help us donate to this particular charity. Do like what Daniel M has already done with his super chat, saying David says good night. Good night there, David. I hope you have an awesome night and a great weekend there, buddy. And you can do a super chat. You can join the Skeptic Mafia, which normally gets you a lot of perks, like, for instance, a podcast, which we haven't done in a while. We've been super, super busy. And then you get to pick the video that we watch on Friday nights, unless there's like something that comes up and I need to do a different kind of stream on Friday nights. And you get emojis. You always get emojis in the chat. So if you want to join the Skeptic Mafia just for that, that would be awesome. You can also help us donate to charities by simply just watching our videos, liking, sharing, and commenting on the YouTube stuff. So we get Daniel M with another super chat.
Woo! That's KC's money.
Shit, yeah, KC's money. Daniel M. He's also got. He also started first grade today. Oh, yesterday. That's so awesome. I bet you loved it, didn't you, there, David? I know. My son, Xander. He really liked his first day of school, and then he started to hate school. But I'm sure that's not going to happen to you because school's pretty cool. I'm such a square. I don't think I'm a square. I'm school. I'm drinking swamp water. I mean, I was in school, up until like 2012. So, I love school. I was ready to be done with school. It's also why I'm not pursuing a PhD. I could pursue a PhD, but it wouldn't get me where in my particular field, unless I wanted to become like a professor or something. I don't feel like taking that kind of pay cut. No offense to the professors that might be out there right now. But in any case, let me just dig myself out of this particular hole. First up, we've got Today I Learned. Y'all ready to change the subject to Today I Learned? I will always have the uke, by the way. Y'all are never gonna... There's not a level of Skeptic Mafia sponsorship or of the Super Chats that'll make me not play. So just, try tempting me. But, it's not gonna happen. Anyways... Here we go. Today I learned. Today I learned. Woohoo! There we go. All right. So first up on Today I learned that Michelangelo hid under the Medici Chapel in Florence for 3 months during a period of political turmoil, occupying his time by sketching on the walls with charcoal. His whereabouts were a secret for almost 500 years until the museum director stumbled upon the drawings in 1976. I mean, can you imagine just stumbling upon it? Like, holy shit, who's been writing on the walls? Is this Michelangelo? Oh, yeah. We're in a month we're gonna be in Florence, so apparently we can go see it. But I wonder, was Michelangelo the one that did the David statue? He did the Sistine Chapel. Let's see. Sistine Chapel. He did a sculpture, or not a sculpture, but a marble statue of Bacchus. Madonna of Bruges, some kind of angel, a crucifix, creation of Adam. My only guess is that they knew that Michelangelo did it because he was drawing dicks. That's the only thing. This isn't going to be the last dick reference for tonight. I'm just telling you. Like, I feel like the video is definitely going to contain some whale dick. Like the response that I'm doing, the guy's definitely going to bring up something about whales, and then I'm going to relate it to a dick. And so that's how we knew it was Michelangelo's drawings. He was perfecting his dick technique for 3 months. All right. now that I've caused KC to cringe a little bit, let's move on to the next Today I learned that the Inuit in northern Greenland were using iron blades for centuries without knowledge of metallurgy. They made them by breaking pieces off of a huge iron meteorite and shaping them with heavy stones. Excuse me. They built their settlements close to the meteorite and used its iron for generations. And that's pretty interesting because I don't know how I stumbled upon this. There was probably one suggestion on YouTube, but now like a good quarter of all of the suggestions on YouTube are like ironwork videos where they make they'll make swords. Mainly it's Damascus steel because apparently that's the one thing that I clicked on so long ago. But I get those all the time. They got to heat them up and everything like that, and then they shape them and everything. And of course, by modern ways, you have machinery that helps you shape them. But these motherfuckers are like, man, it's fucking cold up here. I can't get the fire that hot. We'll just beat the shit out of this iron. Oh man, that's great. And I do agree. The Damascus videos are pretty awesome, as well as other ironworking ones. And let's see, we got Darren Wright with his member chat saying, "Hey there, y'all. Been a hot minute since I caught a live. Missed y'all. Thank you so much there, Darren. I appreciate you for sticking on." Darren's been a member for 18 months. Wow. And then we got Trickster sending in their member chat saying, "Wanted to send you a super chat, but YouTube's not helping." And yeah, YouTube, you bitch. Trickster's been a member for 57 months. That's awesome. Nobody's been a member longer than KC, though. KC was the first. But thank you so much there, Trickster. I'm so glad you were able to send member chat as well as Darren. Thank y'all for choosing the Godless Engineer channel to send your free chats with. Appreciate y'all. That means a lot. But anyways, all right. So that's it for that. I think it's pretty cool that they did it without any kind of like knowledge of metallurgy, because they just had to come up with creative ways to shape that iron. Cold forging. That's interesting. I've never seen cold. That's got to be hard to do though. Like you got to imagine some like buff Inuits that like had tools and was like, I'm going to, forge this thing without any kind of like help from fire, and then just beat the shit out of some iron till it like looks the right way. Anyways, all right, next up, and this is interesting because we did go and see Oppenheimer in the theaters. Today I learned that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were just two of dozens of Japanese cities subjected to massive incendiary attacks. Firestorms leveled almost 100 square miles in Japan's three largest cities, Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya. I think I said that right. Alone, hundreds of thousands were killed and millions forced to evacuate. War sucks. I'm just saying. Like, I hate fucking war. But anyways, that's today I learned. I hope you learned something. I know I did. Mainly about Michelangelo drawing dicks. Maybe that's a little bit of filled in, like paraphrasing on my part, but that's what I took away from it.
This is like one of those instances where it's like, this movie is based on a true story, and really, it's not. Like Cocaine Bear.
Like Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear. Okay, look. The movie, funny as shit, okay? I love the movie Cocaine Bear. If y'all haven't seen Cocaine Bear, y'all need to check it out. But besides the fact that there was a bear found that died
Jesus loves the little children, maybe a little too much.
Besides the fact that there was a bear found that overdosed on cocaine that was dropped from a smuggler's plane, the rest of the movie's bullshit. The entire thing's bullshit. For one thing, I'm not gonna ruin it, but it's just the entire thing's bullshit. The fucking bear eats like what, 2 goddamn kilos of fucking cocaine. Like there's one scene where the bear just goes and just like swallows an entire fucking kilo of it. It would have died. Like there's no way that bear would have lived after doing all that. And the whole movie is just absolutely insane. But it's insane in the greatest possible way. Y'all need to watch it. Everybody needs to watch it. I'm telling you. I think it's on a streaming platform somewhere. Casey said, "You have such bad taste in movies." She's so hypercritical of my taste in movies. There's been the one movie that I will agree with her was a mistake, and I nearly turned it off because I just didn't want to do it, but it was almost over. So I was like, fine, let's finish it. And that was Black Demon, I think. You remember it was that shark movie where the shark was magical.
It was so stupid.
Yeah, it had a magical megalodon shark that was prophesized by the Aztecs or something, and like apparently the mainlanders called forth the megalodon to attack oil refiners that were on this oil rig out off on the coast, and like the entire movie was so fucking stupid, and it tries to build up to this like really big emotional moment, but I was just like, fucking die already, would you please? Because I was just ready for it to be done and there not to be another one. Daniel M asks, with his super chats, he says, how much of Big Brother have you watched? I'm about to comment and don't want to spoil anything for you. Since it's Big Brother season, I get to comment and discuss Big Brother. Oh, okay. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I definitely comment on it. We're caught up. I think that we're caught up to the last episode. So, yeah. Oh yeah, Daniel M. KC cautions that you might ruin it for somebody else. So just keep that in mind there. Then Tim Tully said, been sick, so I haven't been around for a bit. I was healed by the power of modern medicine. Thank the doctors. You know, I found out this week. I woke up, I think it was Thursday morning, and I just randomly thought of like one of my best friends from high school. And I was like, I wonder what the fuck he's doing now. We had a really big falling out when I became an atheist. He was kind of like the jackass Christian at that point, because he would always make fun of me and he'd push me into like doing shit or saying shit or making me feel a certain way. So he was just very.
You have been blessed by Christ. Now go forth and suck my dong.
It's Uhan in the house. Drop by super chat. Thank you so much there, Uhan. But anyways, he turned into a massive dick when I became an atheist. So I cut that friendship off for my own mental health, obviously. And it's not good to have toxic relationships in your life. But I looked him up, and apparently he's running a faith healing church in Florida. And they have testimonies from people on their website about how, you know, my friend and his wife prayed for them to get healed, and then magically they were healed by the power of the Holy Spirit. And it's just, it's the power of Christ, in fact, compelled them to make that bullshit story up. But Tim, I'm so glad that you're feeling a little bit better there. And then Uhan said the drive-by super chat. Thank you so much, all of you, for sending in all of your super chats there. Appreciate y'all. All right, now let's get to the comments. We've got some comments to go through today, for us to read. Some of these are, what do they call tweets now? Expressions, triple X dipshit texts. They're still tweets. All right, so first up, so Slow Motion says in a very rational way, it does, meaning he's talking about the Bible. They are talking about the Bible. Genocide, murder, human sacrifice, and more. Doesn't make it moral just because Sky Fairy said so. I cringe a bit at the whole Sky Fairy thing, but then again, I don't know if I really have a lot of room to say much about that, because I usually go for magical wizard in the sky. And I mean, when I say that, it's not necessarily to get at the Christians, but it's more about how Christians have depicted their God in the past. Because God in the Bible, definitely a wizard. Okay? He matches all the characteristics of a wizard, and on top of that, you have Christians for centuries that have depicted God as a fucking wizard in the clouds. So I disagree with the Sky Fairy thing, because God's not a fairy, he's a wizard. I mean that's my problem with it, I guess. It's maybe a distinction without a difference, but you know, I don't know. Anyways, so great, huh? But here we are. That's right. Thank you, hon. The Great Unshaved One says, 1. You have no morals. You're an atheist. 2. You've clearly never read, let alone studied the Bible. Otherwise, you wouldn't be denying context, or you're just lying. Which is it? I'm sorry. In these particular situations, I have to ask a few questions about this particular sentiment. Okay. So for number 1, you have no morals, you're an atheist. Obviously, that's bullshit. Everybody has a moral foundation of some kind. Even if that's like little to no moral foundation, everybody has their own. So it's all subjective. Even Christians have a subjective moral foundation. They just seem to place high importance on obeying God's law and all that kind of stuff, or at least what people say is God's law. So there's that. That's just bullshit. Number 2, though, I would love to know in what context is genocide okay? Like, in what context is utterly destroying everything in a civilization or in a people group okay? When is that ever okay? I feel like most people nowadays would be like, yeah, that's horrible, don't do that. Like, that's happened multiple times in the past, including Hitler, and we just don't want to go there. God wins the law. So when is that okay? When is human sacrifice ever okay? Okay, so there's one particular instance that it's okay for human sacrifice, and that's that one scene in the Black Demon movie. That was okay. I was actually fine with that. I did not cry over that. I was actually relieved. Now everybody's like, what the fuck's he talking about? I don't like the Black Demon movie because it added magic to a megalodon. Like, a megalodon is already like, oh, this is obviously science fiction. There's no megalodons out there. But then they have to throw in fucking magic with it? Like, fuck that. You don't need magic when it comes to shark movies. You know? Maybe medical science, but not fucking magic. I don't mind Deep Blue Sea because Deep Blue Sea has medical science that, you know, changed the sharks and made them smarter and everything like that, and because they had bigger brains so that they could produce more of this like chemical they were harvesting from it. But that's not magic. That's medical science, which, I mean, you could stretch that, but not magic. That's the important part. I fucking hated the magic about the megalodon. So anyways, when is it what context is okay for like human sacrifice, genocide, for several of the things that happen in the Bible? What kind of context is okay when you're sexually trafficking small girls, like prepubescent girls? When is that okay? What is the context that makes that okay? That's the question that I have to go to whenever this kind of shit gets brought up. You're taking it out of context. Oh, really? What context would make this okay? And so, yeah, that's where I go with that. All right, next comment so that we can move on through this and hopefully get to the actual response video before 9. Next up, we got Brian Jody Houseth 2956. Awesome username there. Blow this up a little bit so that my old ass eyes can read it. Man did not create the idea of God. Citation fucking needed for that one. The fact someone even has an idea to worship a creator has spanned all of human history. That seed had to have been planted in mankind at creation. Otherwise, you would not even have religion in the world. Now, as to who to worship, I look to consistency. I look at the claims and the truth behind those claims, and I look at the evidence outside of the religion itself. That's why I'm a Christian. You'd have to have blind faith to be an atheist. For one thing, despite what Frank Turek will try to smush into your brain, it doesn't take any kind of faith to be an atheist. You just don't have to be convinced. You just have to remain unconvinced by the supposed arguments and evidence that religious people have. That's all you got to do. It didn't take any kind of faith. But also, I would love to know how the Bible is consistent, because God's character isn't consistent. In the Old Testament, he's a dick. And then in the New Testament, he's like, oh, hey, guys, everybody's fine. Everybody can be me. Or not be me, but, be in my club. Everybody can join. There's no, don't worry about that. And it, like, with Paul and Jesus, it's like, you don't need circumcision. What are you talking about, silly goose? That was old me. I've sobered up, and I'm fine now. So where's the consistency there? And then the claim, look at the claims and the truth behind those claims. Well, there are several claims in the Bible, and the truth behind them always seems a bit shady, depending on what claims we're talking about. Like, we're just talking about mundane claims like, oh, David was a king. We have corroborating evidence outside of the Bible that shows that David was a king of the Jews at one time. And like King Solomon and some of the other people, we have like outside corroborating evidence for them. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. But if you want to talk about more specific things, I feel like you're going to have a bad time. And also you're going to have a bad time ethically justifying a lot of things that occur in the Bible. So maybe you want to go back to the drawing board, rethink this shit out, maybe bring some specific examples next time that we can analyze instead of just baselessly claiming this shit. That would be nice. But baselessly claiming things is more fun? Well, I mean, for them, but not for me. I feel like jumping on a gator. Or being like one of those TikTokers that like goes out into the swamp and is like, ooh, that's the most poisonous spider on the earth. I'm gonna grab it. Huh? Let's touch it. Oh, look, that's a venomous, that's a one of the most venomous snakes in the Everglades. I'm gonna fucking grab its tail. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, look, that's a swamp doggo. Nope, that is called a crocodile or alligator. I can't remember which ones are in Florida, but gators, that makes more sense. All right. So this one right here is from Philo3407. Crap argument. The case is cumulative, that it's more likely God exists than not. It's impossible to prove anything 100%, including your own existence. Also, there is not one positive argument for God's non-existence, and all popular atheists concede that. Well, I believe there are positive arguments for the idea that God doesn't exist, like any version of God doesn't exist. And I think that, you know, those that make those arguments feel like they have substantiated those arguments, and I would say that they've substantiated them, you know, at least as good as Christians have substantiated theirs. I think that maybe on the hard atheist route, you might have a little bit better evidence, like against a God existing, but I tend to stick to the agnostic atheist route. I don't claim to know whether or not God exists. I just don't believe in one. It's really that simple. But so there is not one positive argument for God's non-existence, and all popular atheists concede that. I would say that most, if not all, popular atheists, like content creators and whatnot, would probably say that technically, at bare minimum, what an atheist is just somebody that doesn't believe. And so that's not a positive claim. That's not a positive affirmation of anything. Now, as far as specific definitions of God, I would consider myself in the hard atheist corner. Like, I know that the God of the Bible doesn't exist, and that's because the claims of the Bible don't match up to reality. And if the claims of the Bible characterize the God of the Bible, then if those aren't true, then that means that God's not true. And so, or at least that God doesn't exist in this reality as far as we can tell. So that's how I justify that. And I think that that's a pretty fair justification for that position, obviously, or else I wouldn't hold it. But anyways, all right, let's get to some Facebook comments. Here's a Facebook comment from Misfit Toys Car Club. I've been getting some weird fucking pages commenting on the Facebook page. Like, I had I don't know if it was really the representative, but there was like a representative from, a state representative from Pennsylvania that commented on one of my posts. Yeah, I don't know why the fuck it landed on his, or why he felt necessary to comment on it with like his I'm the state representative from Pennsylvania account, but anyways, Misfit Toys Card Club says, Godless Engineer, well, the Bible is a verifiable historical account. It is also the only religion where the Creator appears to people physically, verified by other eyewitnesses, and not in a dream or some animal or something. Not in a dream? Because you could definitely, Gesundheit. You could definitely characterize Paul's visions as dreams, like lucid dreams or however you want to describe that. Yeah, they're visions, but I mean, in reality, they would be dreams. If you could, if he wasn't schizotypal, then he was just having like lucid dreams, very real dreams. And I would say that a good portion of the Christian faith is based on that, because Paul says that the other apostles also got information from Jesus through these dreams and visions, technically. And so it just, he's assuming that Jesus physically came down and like preached to people and that the Gospels were all historically accurate, which they're not. Yeah, I know it's weird. It's weird to think that, but there's plenty of people out there that actually think that. And then they continue with, the Viking stuff isn't real. Their myths were written way after they were all gone by a dude named Snorre Sturluson. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but I feel like the Viking claims are probably of the same caliber as the Christian claims, meaning that they either don't have any evidence behind them or they have shaky evidence behind them that doesn't actually support any kind of conclusions that are made with them. But it's neither here nor there. I'm not here to get in like trouble with the Viking crowd. And then they continue with, the Greek gods and men of renown are known to be the Nephilim. No, they're not. They're not. No, Nephilim are not real. And then he ends it with, even science shows us there has to be a creator. I would love to see the evidence for that. And then he finally ends it with, all actions, everything you do, think and say, you accept responsibility for none of them, as there's no reward or punishment for them in metaphysical or long-term sense. That's a good point, honey. I don't know why he can't be a good person without the need of a cookie or a spanking. I mean, KC says that she likes both of those things. Anyways, we're moving on from that one. Next is Daniel Holshower. This beer is really working tonight. Sorry, but nothing in the Torah describes a person like Jesus. The Jewish Mashiachs, more than one, are not sons or daughters of God, don't possess supernatural powers, and not killed then resurrected. Most likely, the Egyptian mythology of Horus, brought back by the enslaved Hebrews, was the most likely source for the information used to invent Jesus. No. So the Egyptian religions were definitely syncretized into Christianity, but only certain aspects of those mystery cults, like the Osiris mystery cult, the Isis and Osiris mystery cult. Various parts of that were syncretized into the faith, but it's not like a direct copy or anything like that. So that's wrong. There were multiple messiahs in the Old Testament, which are just anointed ones, right? That's what Messiah means. That's what Christ means. There were multiple Christs prior to the final Christ, which was Jesus. And they were considered sons or daughters of God, if there were any anointed ones that were like there was at least one judge that was picked by God to be a judge, but I don't think they were like anointed or anything. But the kings were definitely anointed. They were adopted into God's family. They were considered sons of God. So that was already a known thing in Jewish culture at that time. Don't possess supernatural powers. The prophets possessed supernatural powers. So yeah. They possess supernatural powers. It was either Alicia or Elisha. I don't know how many of y'all play Diablo 4, but in Diablo in general, Diablo 3, at least Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, what you have is this one power called meteorite, right? And in that, you can directly call down a meteorite. And there's also one where you can call down like fiery flames, like a rain of fire or something like that. That's basically what one of the prophets in the Old Testament had. He called down holy hellfire and burned up entire armies, right? He was basically a Diablo 4 character in the Old Testament. So you're going to try to tell me they didn't have supernatural powers? Where the fuck do you think Jesus got his supernatural powers? It was from the prophets of the Old Testament. Jesus is a prophet of God who is also a son of God. Jesus fucking Christ. Thank you so much for talking shit in the chat there. Cole? I can't remember. Was it? Oh, it's already passed over there. Not killed and then resurrected. Now, while the messiahs didn't get resurrected, there were prophets that did resurrecting, and then the whole dying and then resurrecting again. That was a later Pesherim, like that was prior to the 1st century when Christianity developed. They started reinterpreting the Old Testament scriptures in order to reveal information about the coming Messiah. Part of that was this suffering, dying, and resurrecting Messiah. And the idea of resurrection actually began in Ezekiel, and that came 12 years, I believe it was 12 years into their exile into Babylon. And that's when they came into contact with Zoroastrianism and these other mystery cults that also had these bodily resurrection type of myths attached to it. So that got syncretized into Christianity. And that's because these later Jews, like prior to the 1st century, they reinterpreted the Old Testament scriptures to be about this Messiah and what he would do. And part of that is a resurrection. So Daniel, you're all fucked up, but I hope you'll come back again someday. All right. I need some more Florida Man beer, I don't need more men. No, I'm trying to finish it before Bro Steve's because he'll come in and he'll try to drink it all. All right. Oh, this is a good comment. This is not a bad comment. And I'm glad this person left it, right? I don't know how legitimate the account is, but I feel like most people, if they're a black person in general, they would have the same sentiment. Because this guy says, as a black man, I'm disgusted to hear 2 black men justifying any form of slavery. Christianity wins once again with the poisoning of minds. And I agree. And I'm going to have to, I'm glad that they commented because I want to go back to that particular debate and I want to pull out the section where G-Man's like, yeah, I'll be GE's slave, because that was just uncomfortable as fuck. I didn't say anything about it. Somebody from the chat brought it up, and it made me so fucking uncomfortable. It was crazy. Okay, so now we're heading into political shit. We've got Stone Mojo who says, why hasn't Trump been charged with insurrection then? Buddy, they're about to. Well, I don't think insurrection's one of the charges. It's... is it? I don't think they're going to charge him under the Insurrection Act or anything like that. But they are holding a trial for Trump for his actions on January 6th. And so that was, you could characterize that as an insurrection that nearly happened. Like, it doesn't have to successfully have been executed in order for it to be an insurrection. But Stone Mojo continues with, breaks my little heart. breaks my heart a little watching a channel I used to watch all the time suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, I noticed that, the syndrome part. Yeah, so, I mean, I've never liked Trump. I don't know why anybody thinks I like Trump. Like, I did a whole year of like these comments videos, right, where I'd respond to these comments. And at the very beginning of it, I'd always take a dig at the Republicans because they were always shit. Like, there was not one day where the Republicans weren't shit in some way the entire time Trump was president. Yeah, well, I mean, that's still happening. It didn't stop. I'm just saying, like, the entire time they were bad. It's funny, y'all prayed an economic collapse happened under Trump, but ended up voting in Biden, who's doing everything he can to be a dictator. Yeah, none of this makes sense. We don't pray. We're not religious. I sincerely doubt you've watched my content at all. But anyways, I also didn't want an economic collapse under Trump. I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want Trump to do a press conference where he told people not to worry about COVID-19. I mean, sure. Yeah, he told people to shove bleach up their ass. He also had this idea of somehow to get light inside of your bodies through a shot. Like, he said a whole bunch of crazy shit. But at the very beginning, he held a press conference where he assured everybody COVID-19 is not going to come to the United States. So you don't need to worry about it. Now, at that point in time, did we know that we had like several outbreaks of COVID? No, we didn't. But Trump also didn't have to say the shit that he did. Dragon Master 0118.
Hey, GE, this person just donated a whole bunch of money. You might want to give them some attention.
Okay. If the Trump trials are televised, should have a watch party. I mean, I feel like it's going to be hours and hours long, and it's probably going to happen during the day. So I'll be at work, and I definitely can't swing that. I mean, I don't know. I could take a vacation day. Sick day. I need a mental health day because some shit's going on and it's going to repair it. So thank you so much there, Dragon Master. I'll definitely consider it. It's going to be happening in January. I think it's January 2nd, right? Is the one for the January 6th stuff? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Huh? Oh, that's what he asked for. So we'll have to see when it is, and we'll definitely. Happy New Year! Trump's gonna get convicted. There's no way he doesn't get convicted. I'm sorry. There's just way too much evidence. Okay. One day G will realize how pointless all the Trump hate is. Nope. Never gonna realize that. I still hate Trump. Like Trump is one thing that I do hate. Like everything that he's done. And everything that he's caused to happen, everything he's about, like all of it, I just don't like any of it, and I don't like him. So I don't hate God, but I do hate Trump, and that will not change because Trump's not going to change. So that's the reason why Trump's not going to change. He's just not. And die mad there, Stony Brook 24. I don't know. Next up is one I got off of Reddit. It says, the Civil War wasn't about slavery until the Union started losing. Lincoln needed to gain the support of the Northerners somehow, so he made a political move to include slavery. Otherwise, the people would have forced Lincoln to stop the unpopular war. Many Southern generals couldn't have cared less about slavery or fighting for it. Fact. Yeah. I like the response that this person got, and that's why I saved it, because as y'all can see. So, I'm taking it you have a degree in history with a focus on American history during that time period, because I do, and that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Polly Pocket sent in a super member chat saying, I hate Trump too, if that makes you feel better. I mean, I feel like reasonable people will not like Trump. I mean, I'm not going to say you have to hate Trump, but I feel like reasonable people can recognize how bad Trump is for the country in general and how like divisive he's made things and how he's just exacerbated the political environment. I feel like anybody can recognize that. That's reasonable. But anyways, so the Civil War was most definitely about slavery. It's like it was about states' rights. States' rights to do what? Yeah, exactly, honey. To own. Oh, excuse me. To own people. States' rights to own another person and to keep them owning it. I saw a TikTok this week that had that showed how the Second Amendment was originally put into the Constitution or into the Bill of Rights so that they could quell slave rebellions. Like that was why the well-regulated militias are in the Constitution. So just keep that in mind. Daniel M says, you forgot to read in the full stop after the support of
You have been blessed by Christ. Now go forth and suck my dong.
I'm not sure what you mean there, Daniel. You forgot to read in the full stop after the support of the Civil War, slavery. I'm not sure what you mean there, bud. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. You don't have to send another super chat. You just got to clarify it in the regular comments there. So obviously Civil War was about slavery. And in fact, Lincoln, here's the one thing that doesn't make sense. If Lincoln was pushed into including slavery, to doing the Emancipation Proclamation and then the 13th Amendment, why did he have to convince people to do it? Like, he had to lobby votes. He had to get people on his side about the whole slavery bit. And, there's a really great movie with Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln, I believe it is. That's the movie Lincoln. And I don't know how true to history it is, but I totally... I don't see why this wouldn't be like something that happened, but there were some, just, I guess, for the lack of a better phrase, common people, just regular citizens of the United States. They brought them in and questioned them about slavery. And it was like, it was told to them like, hey, we need to free the slaves in order to stop the war. And so that's how it was sold to them. So they agreed, yeah, sure, let's free the slaves. And then they asked clarifying questions. And if y'all definitely need to look this up on like YouTube or whatnot. And it was like, if we could win the war or if we could stop the war without having to free the slaves, would you want to free the slaves? And the regular citizens were like, no, I don't care about freeing the slaves. So this whole idea that Lincoln was pushed into it, or this whole idea that Lincoln was somehow not wanting to do it and was being pushed by other people to do it, I feel like is probably not historically accurate.
He didn't much care about freeing the slaves. In fact, he would have preferred that all of the slaves be sent back to Africa.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a complex issue with Lincoln and slavery there, but the whole idea of the Northerners pushing Lincoln into doing it and everything, I feel like with the amount of pushback that Lincoln got, that it just wouldn't have been the case. And that's not to say that Lincoln was wanting to free the slaves, but I feel like Lincoln saw it as an opportunity to stop the war by freeing the slaves, since the war was about owning people as slaves. I don't know. It's a complex topic, but the way that this guy boils it down is obviously not correct. So anyways, that's it for the comments tonight. And we are getting to Brosivas now. Y'all ready for some Brosivas? I got to go and find him. He's going to have a little bit of beer to drink. I know he's going to buy... Honey, don't let him spit in my beer. You know that he does it. Okay. All right, I'm going to go get Brosivas. Be right back.
Shitty ass science! We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong.
All right. Did he leave me some beer?
Yeah? No? Maybe? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to drink his beer because, you know what? We haven't been having beer lately, so I have been sober And I have needed naps multiple times throughout the day to account for my soberness. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Good Florida man beer. Actually, you know what? I'm going to top it off for him. 1 second. This stream is not sponsored by Florida Man Beer, but if you want some, you'll have to go to Florida to get it. I don't recommend going to Florida. That's where DeSantis is from. Not even people that attend DeSantis's fucking gatherings like DeSantis. He is a douchebag there, Casey. You are accurate in that. All right, y'all. Welcome to the gun show, y'all. Yeah. Anyways. All right. But Fuck Me Hard asks if... Yeah, it's real. What are you talking? But Fuck Me Hard. He must be Catholic. Says, if global warming is such a problem, why don't we just move the sun further away? Okay, so for one thing, we can't move the sun further away, okay? And I believe that we all know why. And that's because God has placed us in the perfect path around the sun. So if we move it, we're just going to fuck something up. So we just need to entrust everything to God. Okay? Also, another thing to keep in mind is that climate change, global warming, ain't real. Well, we're demonetized now? Just because, look, I'm just spouting science over here. This is a TED Talk. Listen, God created this world perfectly, okay? We can't change the environment. So this is bullshit, okay? We can't move ourselves away from the sun because God placed us in a particular path. Think about, those models where you got the earth that's on like a track? Yeah, that's exactly what all this is like. It's on a track. We can't move shit. God has placed us here. He's put in a password and we don't know what the fuck it is because it's probably ungodly. It's an ungodly password, and no, it's not devil spelled with a bunch of 1s and 3s, okay? All right, so we can't move the sun. Now, I have to say the heat is getting a bit of a problem, but that's because you're all sinners. There's just so much sin going on that every place where there's a collection of sinners, it's heating up. So, like, you got Texas. Oh, that place is full of sinners out there. Have you seen the Pornhub stuff where they, like Texas and Alabama and everything? They're looking up porn galore. They're all over the Pornhubs. They just they don't want to tell people about it. And that's because they love to sin. But they've also got Jesus Christ looking out for them. Jesus Christ comes in and erases their internet history. You hit Control-H on their fucking Chrome, and it's just like, oh my God, tabula rasa. I don't know where the fuck we've been. See, now she's laughing. Before, she was like, demonetized. We're going to get canceled. And now she's all laughing because of tabula rasa. It means clean slate in a different language. Don't ask me such direct questions. She asked me which other language it was, and like I would fucking know. Anyways, so Jesus cleans up after us by cleaning our history out, and we can't move the earth and make it not as hot because we're stuck on a fixed track because that's how God has designed this universe. And then finally, if we want shit to cool down, we just need to quit sinning all the time. All right? We just do. Now, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that, like, Trump is the best person out there, but, like, you could look to Trump and you could see what you should not do. Okay? Like, Trump is the embodiment of everything unholy and ungodly in this universe. And I'm a Christian, okay? And I think that we all just need a little bit more Christ in our lives. So get down on your knees and please that Jesus. Make sure you rub him the right way. That way, he will let you into heaven and he'll cool this place down. He'll just flip the switch on and turn the AC on. That's not how that works. That's how it works for me. Anyways, I'm going to let y'all go. So global warming, I mean, the way that you fix global warming and the warming of the earth is to stop sinning. That's the answer. You don't need to move the earth. Not that we can move it in the first place. I'll see you heathens later. Y'all take it easy. I always forget how to fucking get out of here. All right, here we go. Bye, y'all.
Shitty ass science. We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong.
Josephus, I told you to not do that whole climate change fucking bullshit. You know what happened to the GE Plays channel for that? We just made a slight joke about vaccines, and all of a sudden we're getting shit taken down. I'm gonna have to edit your ass out, at least that part where you talk about global warming and stuff. I know, it was rude, honey. And we allowed him to keep his fucking little blankie. Yeah. You're gonna get him a new blanket for Christmas? I'm sure that he'll enjoy that. Anyways, thanks for Josephus explaining why we can't just move the planet. It would take a pretty big force in order to move the planet out of its current orbit, but also that's not the reason why our planet is heating up. It's not like the sun's gotten hotter. It's that the carbon in our atmosphere has increased to the point where the Earth is starting to heat up. Like there's an imbalance right now, and it's only going to get worse with the amount of carbon that's in the atmosphere. We've been adding so much carbon to the atmosphere, it's caused the Earth to insulate itself. So basically what that means is that when the sun emits its heat, right, and it hits the Earth, prior to all the carbon emissions fucking up our atmosphere, the heat could easily dissipate off of the Earth. And there's been various times in the Earth's past where there's been more carbon in the atmosphere, and that's caused certain changes to happen and everything like that. But as far as... I don't know if y'all know this, but when you get to heaven, your moral actions are not judged. You're only judged for believing in me. Thank you. So all the carbon that's in the atmosphere right now that's been artificially added by humans, it's causing an unnatural change in the heat of the planet, and that's causing different things. Like it causes more intense winters, it causes more intense storms, it causes more intense heat, and everything like that. So I mean, it's causing these intense weather conditions. And it's all because of the changing heat index of the planet. Daniel M says, I totally have to get David to do his poopy butt science song for you all. I would love to see that. I would love to see him sing poopy butt science. Cernian says CO2 absorbs and re-emits infrared radiation. More CO2, more infrared re-emitted down, keeping more energy in the system. Yeah, so I mean, I guess maybe insulated was the wrong word to use there, but that's the thing that I was trying to convey, was that it kept more heat in. So anyways, thank you so much, Cernian, for that. Thank you, Daniel M, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. Y'all ready to move on to some shit that I actually know about and I don't have to prepare for because I didn't prepare for any kind of global warming talk today? All right. Here we go. Boom. There's no special graphic yet. I still got to fix that. CO2 is transparent to visible light, not infrared. That's right. All right. So here's our pastor. Pastor or something fucking or another. I can't exactly remember. But it's, let's see. I think, is it Pastor Briggs? Bumbleberries, Brigadier, Bumblefuck, Jonathan Burris, Pastor Jonathan Burris is his name. But anyways, all right. So here is Pastor Jonathan Burris. Yep, Jonathan Burris. So in case y'all don't know, I don't know if there are people that may have forgotten or maybe you didn't grow up religious, but one of the ways that religious people communicate different ideas is through storytelling, because that's how Jesus did it. Jesus did it with parables. And the thing that kind of makes it sus a little bit is that Jesus had no problem making shit up in order to teach a lesson. And so hearing these stories, the reason why so many people, I guess, are saying, oh, well, this is a bullshit story, this story never happened, is because of how Christians have been taught to fabricate stories as parables in order to teach lessons. And because teaching the lesson's more important than the story being accurate, I guess. And so I don't know what the story's about to tell is accurate, but he's about to tell you a story. And I listened to his story and I just simply wasn't impressed by it, but y'all might be impressed. I don't know. Anyways, let's see what he has to say.
Towards thee I roll, thou all-destroying but unconquering well. To the last I grapple with thee. From hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee. These are among the last words of Captain Ahab.
Starting out strong with some Moby Dick. I don't know if y'all know this, but when you get to heaven, your moral actions are not judged. You're only judged for believing in me. Thank you. Because he quoted from Moby Dick. Moby Dick, which concerns a whale. Nee says, every breath he takes, every claim he makes, every law he breaks, I'll be hating Trump. So yeah, he starts off with some Moby Dick.
As he died, trying to destroy the white whale. Hello, friends. I'm pastor and teacher Jonathan Burris.
I hate it when they start off like this. Like, no offense to Jonathan here, but like, hello, friends. I'm not your friend. I'm not your buddy. Like, even if I was a religious person, I'd be like, I'm not your friend. Like, I got directed here by my buddy. I'm not your friend. Maybe I'm taking that a little bit too literally. I know that he's trying to be nice, but at the same time, I guess it just rubs me the wrong way when people automatically consider you their friend. It feels like they're trying to set you up for to be manipulated. Like they're trying to get you to lower your defenses against what they're about to say. Hello, friend. Like, buddy, not your friend.
Okay, so we all know that Herman Melville ripped off that great scene from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I better.
Yeah, it was loud.
Not kids. Somebody will remind me that Moby Dick was written in 1851. All right. In Moby Dick, Captain Ahab's final breath fueled these words. Let me then tow to pieces while still chasing thee, though tied to thee, thou damned whale. Thus I give up the spear. Melville's Captain Ahab is a study in dangerous obsession, fueled by unmitigated hate. His life's pursuit is to destroy this whale who took his leg. He sees this whale as the embodiment of evil. If he can destroy the whale, he can perhaps regain some meaning to his miserable life.
So, what I'm taking away so far from this message that atheists are supposed to be consuming here is that he initially tries to disarm you by calling you a friend. And now he's obviously about to go into some kind of religious rhetoric about how we need to believe in Jesus. But after he shuts your defenses down, or at least he tries to shut your defenses down, he's setting up this secular like story that's supposed to tie in to his message. And so he's essentially trying to equate his message to a secular message. And
I don't know if y'all know this, but when you get to heaven, your moral actions are not judged. You're only judged for believing in me. Thank you.
So he's trying to draw this comparison between this secular story and his own story that he's about to tell us. And he's trying to equate the two as if, look, here's this story that teaches this kind of message about the same thing that I want to teach you about. Here's my own story that teaches you the exact same message. So, you know, he's trying to be relatable, I guess. And I feel like this is another tactic that he's employing in order to get you to readily accept his message. I feel a lot of manipulation coming off of this video in the first minute. Daniel M says, the only one who could get away with that shit was Mr. Rogers, and he called us neighbor. That's right. He didn't start off by saying, hey there, friend. Like, he didn't start off that way. He's like, hello, neighbor. And like, he meant neighbor in the sense of, you know, we're humans. Like, as far as Mr. Rogers go, he was talking to like humans in general. So like neighbor, like, yeah, sure, neighbor. That doesn't mean, just because I'm your neighbor doesn't mean I'm your friend. But even so, Mr. Rogers was a treasure. So I wouldn't mind him calling me friend.
Okay, enough. Why is a Christian pastor discussing Moby Dick? Because I believe many atheists are as obsessed with hatred for God as Ahab was with the white whale.
Huh? He sounds like Locke. Locke has turned into a Christian version of Negan, but like not as like hardcore as Negan is, because you know Locke taped a Bible to a bat and then he beat up a Barbie house, and like it's like he was like, what's something popular that I could do that everybody knows about, but make it Christian. And then he's like, oh, Negan wrapped a bat in barbed wire. I'll wrap mine in the Bible. And he didn't, like, it would have been better if he would have come out, like, doing the whistle thing, like, and it was like, little pig, let me in. And then, boom. And then smash the house. Like, that would have been better for Locke. Like, nobody in his audience would have got the reference, because I feel like people that are in there cheering for Locke and everything wouldn't know what the fucking Walking Dead is, because it's a satanic or something. But I feel like that would have been like such a better performance than him being like, I love God and hate liberals. I mean, that's not what he said, but he might as well. But in any case.
I don't mean all non-theists. Some skeptics and agnostics.
Oh, so yeah, he said that atheists like have this unwavering hatred for God, and we're like Captain Ahab going after his white whale. And I really don't see myself that way, primarily because like I don't see God as something that needs to be like destroyed, or like God has done something to me, because that would suggest that I think that God is real and that he's actually done something to affect my life. Now, I do feel like God's fan clubs, the various ones that he has here on earth, have done things. I feel like there are people that have to deal with God's fan club and deal with the ramifications of actions done by God's fan club. And so I see myself as being here for them. So it's not that I'm Captain Ahab in the story. I would be the person that's trying to help those affected by Captain or by the white whale's like destructive thing. I don't know. I haven't read Moby Dick, but I'm not chasing after the white whale. I'm trying to help people deal with the asshole white whale And I guess maybe the asshole that's chasing him or something. Because, I mean, I feel like what we do as a community, as a demographic, is vastly different than like attacking God. We're not attacking God. We're just attacking an idea, right? Like we do things to attack like the idea of God, but that doesn't mean that we're attacking God. Like that's not what we're doing.
Agnostics are open-minded and seeking answers to life's questions. They're intellectually honest when they say they do not believe there is a God or they haven't been convinced that God exists. I've said the only honest atheist is an agnostic.
What's up, heathens? I just real quick wanted to let y'all know about a new course.
Anyone could truthfully say that there is no omniscient being in existence would require omniscience. And yet my YouTube comments and my private
Been trying to stop this for a minute. So I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to a little bit of this. So he's talking about how agnostics are only the real or the only real skeptics, and I disagree with that. I think that there are hard atheists out there that assert that there are no gods at all and God can exist. And I think that they can fairly well justify their position. And I have no problem with that. I don't go that far personally. I stay in the agnostic atheist camp, but just because I'm also agnostic doesn't mean that I'm any less an atheist. I still don't believe in a God because I haven't been shown that he exists. So there's that. That any exists. Sorry. And that's kind of my next point that I was going to go into, because there's I have a nuanced position on this topic, because like generally when I talk about God, I'm thinking about Yahweh, right? Because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with Christian God, but that's not the only version of Yahweh that exists out there. Obviously, there's Judaism and Islam that also exist, but there's also other religions that exist that don't concern Yahweh. But in my experience in the past, it's been primarily a Christian type of God. Now, for that particular God, and any particular definition of God that we have, I would consider myself a hard atheist. So I'm the type of atheist that says those gods don't exist. And it's because we can't actually show that they do exist, so there's no reason to believe that they do exist. But we should be able to know that they exist based on their descriptions. Is that what you mean? Yeah, exactly. What we should be able to determine that they exist based on their descriptions. But because we don't, that's why I assert that they don't exist. They, those particular gods have these very specific claims about them that are supposed to comport with reality, and because they don't, there's literally no reason to consider them to be real. And if you change their definitions, then that makes them not those gods. It's maybe it's similar, but it's not those gods. And so the gods that are believed in by the billions of people that believe in those gods now, because because reality doesn't comport with their descriptions, they don't exist. And so I have a nuanced position on this. And so for the purposes of this video, you could consider me a hard atheist, because he is discussing his own Christian faith, and he wants us all to come to the Christian faith and to believe in the Christian God. So the only version of God that exists to him is the Christian God.
And agnostics are open-minded and seeking answers to life's questions. They're intellectually honest when they say they do not believe there is a God or they haven't been convinced that God exists. I've said the only honest atheist is an agnostic. To declare that God emphatically does not exist is a logical contradiction. The only way anyone could truthfully say that there is no omniscient being in existence would require omniscience.
You notice the equivocation that he makes here, because he equivocates his definition of God with a general definition of God that doesn't include the very specific Christian definition. I mean, he does describe a theistic type of God, one that's omnipresent and all this other stuff. But he doesn't describe something that's exclusively a Christian God. So he's doing a bit of an equivocation here. And for the Christian God, obviously, hard atheist, that God doesn't exist. For the supposed omniscient God that exists somewhere and knows everything, I don't know how I'm supposed to disprove that. So, I mean, it's kind of an unfalsifiable claim, which doesn't really make it all that useful. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't exist because I have no idea. So, yeah. And the equivocation here is the thing that I'm hyper focused on.
And yet my YouTube comments and my private messages on Facebook Messenger are full of militant atheists who act as if their life's purpose is to attack God and those that follow him.
You know, I feel like somebody making a one-off comment or even having a conversation on a Facebook page or on a YouTube page, I feel like that's not making the attack of God your entire life's purpose. I mean, I get it that his entire life's purpose and that his entire life's focus right now is on God. And I feel like he can only see people or perceive people's actions through that particular lens. Because it's like, well, I, am constantly thinking about God. So because these people are also commenting about my God, that must mean that they also can't stop thinking about this God, except they are trying to disprove this God. So they spend their entire lives trying to disprove my God. And so I feel like that's not really representative of reality. I think that he's, he has a perception problem.
But the militant angry atheists who troll my DMs and YouTube comments that get held for review by YouTube don't seem to have a problem with every god or every religion. The angry atheist doesn't seem to have a problem with the pantheist who believes that God is everything and everything's God. Likewise, they don't seem to have a problem with polytheism that holds to more than one God. It is the monotheist in general that the angry atheist has a problem with.
KC just said, I hate the fucking, I fucking hate him.
Well, just like, not him, but the description, the angry atheist. Fuck off. And you know why we don't have a problem with pantheism or fucking anything else? It's because they're not trying to rule everybody else's fucking life with their shit. Mind your own goddamn business, nobody have a problem with you either.
So I'm going to echo the same sentiments that Casey just echoed that nobody could hear. I as well have issues with any God description. But again, I feel like this guy is suffering from a perception issue because he perceives, like in his world, he only thinks about his God. And so it seems like through his description that when people attack his God, he can only perceive their actions through that particular lens. He only perceives their actions as being solely directed at his version of God, the monotheistic version of God. When atheists definitely have issues with any definition of God. Now, do we have a problem with people that believe in a God but don't cause shit, that don't sit there and try to act like they're holier than thou? Do we say something to somebody who believes in like fucking tarot cards but are not trying to shame us or hurt us or hurt other people or shame other people? Most likely not. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't asshole atheists out there. Obviously, in every single group, there are assholes. This guy's an asshole Christian. I'm fairly certain by the tone of this and what you're gonna hear in a minute. I feel like it's a justified remark. But there are definitely assholes regardless of your religious affiliation. But if you're wondering why atheists don't attack pagans and don't attack polytheists and all that, it's because they believe in a certain thing, but they understand that their belief is personal. And if you want to know more, they'll tell you. But other than that, they don't really care about pushing their religion on you. And you know what? Honestly, if Christians took that particular route, I would probably just end up streaming video games all the time. To nobody, nearly nobody. Sometimes people watch. Go to geplays.com. What? Right. So KC pointed out how drag queens can enjoy a fucking drag show. Oh, sorry. Pagans can enjoy a drag show. I said drag queens, didn't I? I'm sure they do too. But pagans can enjoy a drag show and not like make everybody feel like shit for it and not cause problems. Like that's what KC said. So, I mean, not have a meltdown, but they also don't do those other things. So.
And the Judeo-Christian God in particular. I seriously wonder why these militant atheists don't troll Muslim clerics on YouTube. All right.
Are you fucking serious? That people don't troll? I mean, I can't count the number of times I've had a Muslim in my DMs or on my videos, like, claiming some horrific shit that they're going to do to my mother because of shit that I've said about Allah or about Islam in general. Like, I mean, I remember one guy came to my Facebook DMs and was like, I'm going to fuck your mother. And it's like, whoa, dude. Like, would Allah let you suck his dick with that mouth? Probably. But, you know, we don't troll Muslims. No, we don't. Again, this is all through his lens. His lens is his God. His lens is his experience. And he's very offended. He is. Nobody gives a shit. Thank you, honey. Do you want to be on the mic? Okay. She's got a lot of opinions about this. But, so he's looking at this through his lens, and that's the only lens that exists for him. And so obviously people aren't trolling Muslims. It's not that I endorse trolling, mind you. Healthy discussion and debate and, you know, having, you know, debates and discussions with people of various faiths, I think is a good thing. But to say that we don't do those things or that we treat Christians in a special way versus other religions, I think is just ridiculous. Oh no, persecution! Ah!
Also, he thinks trolling is like what normal people would call having a fucking opinion.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Is that, you know, a lot of these Christian pastors and preachers and everything like that, they consider trolling to be just normal, healthy discussion, or having an opinion. Like, that's trolling to some of these pastors.
Right. Well, actually, I've got a pretty good idea. I believe there are two reasons why it's the God of the Bible that these angry atheists have a problem with. First, many Christians today are pushovers. The backbone of many Christians is made of soft cartilage rather than bone.
Now he's going after Christians. Casey asked if he was talking about his penis. You know, you cringed at me bringing up dick, and now here you are making a dick joke.
I mean, he said he can't get it up. That's it.
I mean, everything's just flaccid. And I believe we just need to inject little blue pills into all the Christians out there. But now he's going after Christians. So, I mean, it's not just atheists. Like, this guy right here is like, Christians out there don't have spines, so that's why atheists are getting lippy. And it's like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, you're criticizing grown people for not doing more to fight against the atheists. What do you want us to do? Wrap our bats with Bibles, whistle, and then break a Barbie castle? Like, what the fuck you want from your Christian people there, Pastor?
They'll not stand tall and fight. In many cases, they couldn't if they wanted to for a lack of knowledge. A recent Barna survey showed that only 6% of Christians actually have a worldview. Secondly,
he had it up on the screen to say biblical worldview, so only 6% of Christians have a biblical worldview.
Oh, okay. He didn't say that.
He didn't say it, no. I mean, the way that he said it is rather confusing, and when I heard it earlier, I was rather confused. Because it's like, wait, they don't have a worldview? Like, everybody has a fucking worldview, but biblical worldview, that makes more sense. I feel like a biblical worldview would land you into a whole lot of trouble, especially nowadays. Because, you know, the Bible's not all that progressive. I mean, in the past, religious people have been able to manipulate the Bible into being more progressive than it actually is. Because back then, the progressive of the past is not as progressive as it is now, because that's how progression works, right? And so you could easily finesse it. Now you can't finesse shit. Like with the topics that we're really discussing right now, you cannot fucking finesse anything in the Bible. Because it's like, everybody has to have a moral foundation, and the only way you get that's through God. And then, you know, all you have to say is, well, if that were true, why does God command genocide? Well, I mean, you know, God's special and he can do what he wants and the people deserved it. And, they were sacrificing young children. That's the reason why God had them all killed. And then all you have to bring up is, so the solution for God to stop the Midianites from sacrificing small children is to have the Israelites kill those same small children? Except for the virgin girls, of course. Like, if you had a prepubescent young girl, she could be taken into the Israelites, and they were essentially forced into sexual slavery at that point. But for all the young boys and all of the girls who had already had sex and everything, the non-virgin girls, they were all killed. And so it's like, in order to stop the child sacrifice, God had the Israelites pre-sacrifice the children, I guess. Awesome solution, God! Because it's definitely not in the Bible that God's like, all right, Moses, now listen. I want you to go into that city and I want you to save those children, okay? Because they're killing children in there, and I don't want children killed because that would be against my moral code. All right? That's not what God said. You know what God said? God was like, now listen, Moses. All right? Okay, because he snorts coke. God does. All right, now listen. I want you to go in there, and I want you to just fucking kill everything. And Moses is like, what about the girls that haven't had sex yet? I mean, if you want to keep them, that's fine. But everybody else, you've just got to fucking kill, okay? I need bloodshed. Do you understand? That's the only way this works. Oh, sacrifice the young. I'm paraphrasing the Bible, obviously.
It's because the God of the Bible convicts them, and they desperately desire for him not to exist. In a recent video, I quoted 3 famous atheists who readily admitted that they had presuppositions for not wanting God to exist.
I don't know what 3 atheists he picked, okay? Like, it's really neither here nor there. Whether an atheist says one thing or another, I don't really give a fuck. What I do know is that it's not that I don't want God to exist. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. So I recently had a lunch with a deeply religious guy, and he point blank asked me, like, if I were to show you that God exists and you were able to accept that God exists, would you worship him at that point? And I thought about it for a minute, and I used Numbers 31 as just one particular example of why I simply couldn't follow that God. And so it's not that I don't want God to exist, because if God exists, I want to know, because then my worldview that I have is better representative of reality if I know that a God does exist. So obviously, I want my worldview to comport with reality. That's my ultimate goal. But if his God were to exist, there are certain things in the Bible, if true, I would not be able to get past. Numbers 31 is one of those. 1 Samuel 15.
You have been blessed by Christ. Now go forth and suck my dong.
1 Samuel 15, 1 through 3 is another one similar to Numbers 31. Leviticus, is it Leviticus 25, 44 through 46? That's another one that's about buying slaves. And then there's, basically how women are treated in the Bible, as property to be traded and bought and sold. Like those are significant issues that I have with the Bible. If God were to turn out to be true, and Jesus is his son and all that, those are the things that would hinder me from following that God. So I can accept that God exists and not follow him. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I'd fucking, go all Wolverines against fucking God, but I would at least admit that he existed, right? And that's what they want. No, scratch that. That's not what they want. They don't want people to simply believe that God exists. That's not what they want. That's what they say their problem is, but that's not what, like, this pastor right here wants. What this pastor right here wants is you to submit yourself to God and to believe and follow him, right? That's what he really wants. Just believing in God's not going to suffice. You've really got to get on your knees and give the best fucking blowjob to God that you can.
I don't believe it is only those three who have such presuppositions. I believe Romans 1, 20 and 21 hits the nail on the head. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
I will never understand this particular fucking verse and why they tout this out. Because the verse literally says the invisible qualities of God are clearly seen, thereby violating the invisibility quality of God's shit. I don't know why they think that invisible shit can be clearly seen, because I know you could pull up like X-rays and gamma rays or whatever in the fuck. Like, you could pull up various things that are not clearly seen by the eye, but we can detect. The verse isn't the invisible qualities are easily detectable by various instruments and other senses. That's not what it says. It says the invisible qualities of God are clearly seen. I don't know if there's a clearer contradiction in the Bible than invisible shit being seen. How does that make fucking sense? Jesus will make himself known to the right people? Well, he definitely passed on my ass. It was like, that motherfucker, he ain't even going to believe I existed in the future, so fuck him. I mean, it's so weird to me that they pull this out. Like it's some kind of gotcha. Like, the invisible qualities are clearly seen. It's like, could you repeat that slower? Because I don't think that you're hearing yourself. Huh? Yeah, and maybe think about why you're saying it. Because Harry Potter, when he puts on that cloak of invisibility, do you think that his invisible ass is clearly seen with the naked eye? I mean, there are portions where other people sense Harry, and maybe Dumbledore's got some kind of like extrasensory perception going on there. But my point is that he's not clearly fucking seen, because that's the direct opposite of what invisible goddamn means.
Because that when they knew.
Huh? I'm getting angry. I'm an angry atheist. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. That describes the angry atheists.
Now, he's trying to describe angry atheists. Now, I think that there are angry atheists out there, but I think that most atheists that are angry either, directly at God or not. Like, when atheists say I'm angry with God, the way that I perceive them to be, or what I perceive them to be saying, is that they're angry about the character of God in the Bible. Not that God actually exists and they're angry with him, but that their anger is directed towards the God of the Bible, because the God of the Bible represents a lot of things to them. Like, it represents how they were lied to. It represents how much time they sunk into trying to convince people that their particular God is the true God. It probably makes them think of the different things that they did to get people to believe in their God. So I can understand atheists like directing their anger towards this character, much in the same vein that I hate Voldemort because he's a dick. And other fictional characters because they are dicks. It's in the same vein that I feel that most atheists are talking about their hatred for God, if they even have that. KC dislikes this guy because he's a dick. So, it happens on multiple levels. But he's trying to describe angry atheists here. And I just want to say that I'm not in the business of judging people for their anger about religion. If you're angry about religion, about how you were done in religion, or how people treated you in religion, or the things you might have done in religion, I think that anybody's anger about religion is justified. I think that maybe I would disagree with some reasons out there, but it's a case-by-case basis. But I think that if you're angry about your religious upbringing or anything of that nature, obviously that's very specific to your experience, and I don't necessarily think that it's invalid. While I may not be angered by it, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be angered by it. So, but again, I'm not trying to give carte blanche to just, any kind of behavior, but I just think that anger about religion is justified.
It's not that you don't believe God exists. You know he does, and it bothers you.
Fuck you, buddy. Seriously. I know a lot of people, whenever they do these response videos online, they're totally different in person whenever they're talking to somebody. And I guess I wouldn't walk up to this guy right now and be like, hey, fuck you. Casey would. But if we were in a conversation and he said this to me, that would be my reaction. Fuck you, buddy. That's totally disrespectful. What he just said, totally disrespectful. And if you're looking to gain some kind of rapport with an atheist in order to get them to accept what you're about to say, this is not the fucking way to do it. That ain't it, bro.
These angry atheists attack God as immoral and cruel. If they can somehow convince themselves that God is immoral, it gives them hope. I'll tell you what the scariest thing in the Bible is. God is holy.
That's the scariest thing in the Bible, honey. God is holy. God is holy. And that's the scariest thing in the Bible. Are you fucking serious? Like, God magically kills specifically all of the firstborn kids of Egypt in order to get his people out of Egypt. That was the best plan he could come up with. But God being holy is the scariest fucking thing. I think some maniacal dictator up there that requires you to disembowel animals and burn their entrails to fucking ash.
Jesus loves the little children, maybe a little too much.
Very topical, that particular alert. A maniacal dictator up there that loves the smell of burning entrails that are being burned to ash. And he can magically, with a snap of his fingers, cause specific demographics to drop dead. That's not the scariest fucking thing? How is that not the scariest? I can name a number of scarier fucking things than God's holiness. Like, what does that even fucking mean at this point? Skeptics and scoundrels, what's up, Eric? Says, attacking someone else's thoughts and motives instead of providing evidence? It's almost like he doesn't have evidence. No, I mean, I didn't begin this video thinking he had fucking evidence. That's for sure.
God is good. Why is that scary? Because we are not.
I am so much better than God. Like, there's no version of reality except maybe the exact opposite of this reality, like, I guess story-wise or like my attitude-wise. Could I ever envision myself sending a group of people to another town and having them wholesale slaughter everybody and take the small prepubescent girls as sexual slaves? Like, I don't ever see myself doing that in any reality. So, no, those things are not like the scariest things about God. And I am definitely better than his particular version of God.
Now, before you think I'm standing in a holier than thou position, let me stop you and tell you that I am not better than you. I was you. There was a time in my life when I hated God. I did.
Oh, okay. Then you were never me. There's never been a time when I've hated God. Of course, he's speaking from his own, like, limited view here, obviously, that the only atheists that exist are atheists that hate God and are hard atheists, right? So, I mean, there's no way that he could ever be me. This is a really bad way to get somebody on your side.
Did not doubt his existence. I loathed him. He was the object of all my dissatisfaction. Like the white whale, I blamed him for everything wrong in my life. Before my 16th birthday, I was living at my uncle's house and sleeping on his couch because I couldn't get along with my own father. Everything I owned fit into a small trunk. On a shelf in his living room were 2 white Bibles given me by my maternal and paternal grandmothers. I couldn't stand the sight of them. Not open them and reading them. I never read them. It was merely the sight of the white covers.
You know, it's really weird because I feel like this just highlights how it's a personal problem for him and not anything really that can be used to characterize all atheists, because there are plenty of atheists out there that hold sentimental value to objects, just like, you know, the 2 white Bibles that he's talking about. I mean, I believe, you've got a rosary that's blessed by like 2 popes, right? Oh, sorry. 2 rosaries blessed by 2 different popes.
I've got a Virgin Mary statue in our bedroom on the dresser.
Yeah, so we have a Virgin Mary statue on our on Casey's dresser in our room because it holds sentimental value, not because it's religious, but because it's sentimental. I mean, by the way, if we're ever part of an exorcism, we got to bring those particular rosaries, okay? Because those have to work. I will play the part of the young priest. But, so, I mean, I feel like this is just an asshole thing and not like an atheist thing. Yeah, I mean, I hate the conflation of his attitude as a kid with all atheists. That's a good point. If he blamed God for things, like he thought that God did something that wronged him, then he wasn't an atheist. I mean, he was still a theist. He just didn't like God. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but that doesn't mean that you were an atheist.
That irked me.
Huh? Yeah. Casey said, we're not the same.
Emptied that trunk, threw those 2 Bibles into it, locked it, carried it down to my uncle's building. I pulled everything out of the back right corner, threw the trunk into the empty space, and piled everything I could find back on top of it so as to conceal it from my sight. I walked out of the building, walked across the road, threw the key to that trunk into the neighbor's pond. Spoiler alert, though, that did not end my problem.
No, because therapy would end your problem, not just locking away Bibles in a trunk and piling shit on top of it. Yeah, I mean, I agree that it would be weird for him to be that terrified of Bibles, but he's almost like it. He makes it sound like he was abused directly with the Bibles, and the Bibles were a constant reminder of the abuse. And in that particular view of things, I could understand wanting to remove those Bibles from your visual, like your normal living space, from your sight line and your normal living space. I could understand that. Like, your mom or grandmother beat you severely with those Bibles. Like, yeah, I fucking wouldn't want those Bibles anywhere near me. That's what he's acting like, but he's just like, I don't like God, and I don't like them white fucking Bibles up there. Yours is burgundy? Yeah, I don't know. I've had multiple Bibles throughout my life, but I've never cared all that much about any one of them. I was a really bad Christian, I guess. Like, I was a bad Catholic, then I was a bad Christian. Of course, my upbringing was characterized by, like, getting into the faith and then falling out of the faith, into the faith, out of the faith. Like, there were times when I was severely committed, and then there were times where I just really didn't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Shortly after turning 16 and getting my license, I went to my mom's for the weekend. After a horrible day at school, I had cursed out a young lady on the bus. I'd called her terrible things. In my rage, I spewed insult after insult at her, and she had done nothing to me. She and her brother were different.
So you were a dick. Okay. Yeah, this is not characteristic of atheists. Like, atheists aren't just mean to people for whatever fucking reason. Yeah, I feel like this is a dick issue and not like an atheist issue. Like, you're just an asshole. You were an asshole. And I mean, he's still an asshole by the way he's talking here. He's still an asshole. He's just covering himself with this Christian shield.
They were quiet. They were nice to other people. He took care of her. They were Christians. And I hated him for no other reason than he was a good guy.
Again, more evidence that you were just an asshole. Like, I love the fact that there are Christians out there that are not assholes and are good people and don't treat atheists like shit. Unlike you, Pastor.
I treated his sister like trash, hoping that he would bow up to me. If he would just clench his fist, I could drop him. But this guy with tears running down his face just stood there between his weeping sister and a feral, hate-filled teenage punk. Finally, I stepped aside and let him pass.
I mean, I do have to give it to the brother. I probably would have fucking decked him. I mean, like, you know, if somebody's going to start coming after somebody that I love and care about, yeah, I'll fucking put you down. Like, I'll make sure you go down and you stay down, and then you're going to stay down until we're a safe distance away. Like, I mean, I don't fuck with that kind of bullshit, you know?
As the bus drove off, I sat in my seat and began to curse the bus driver and the other students, but that's okay. They were used to it.
No, see, that's the kind of toxic attitude that has led to a lot of the problems that are seen in people, now. The attitude of, oh, that's just him. He's just a dick. He's just an asshole. Ignore him. Like, that whole attitude is never good and only leads to problems. Yeah, it does. Casey said that just shows that you're an abusive bully, and I would agree with that. He was. If he needs God in order to not be an abusive bully, which this video kind of seems to argue against that idea, but if you happen to be out there and you need God in order not to be an asshole bully, then fucking fine. I'm not here to rip your religion away. Just don't tell me that I'm an idiot because I accept evolution for a fact. Like, that's all I'm asking.
Evening, my mom tells me I'm going to church with them on Sunday. Nope, not me, I said.
That when he said that, I can't help but to think of like a really or hillbilly or redneck kind of saying that's like, not me, says I. They wanted me to go to church. Not me, says I.
I soon realized it was not an option. I wasn't being asked. I decided if I've got to go, I'll drive separate and leave as quickly as I could. Before I pulled onto the road that the church was on, I turned my radio all the way up as loud as it would go so everybody could hear the explicit lyrics of the music I was listening to.
I mean, if I were in that situation and I was an asshole, I'd probably roll up to the church with Highway to Hell playing. I'm on a highway to hell. I can imagine him being an asshole rolling up to church with that blaring. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I totally see him being an asshole doing it.
I backed into the parking lot so I could make my getaway really fast. I pushed my family into the pew so I could sit on the outside, and I sat with one foot in the aisle the entire service so I could escape at my first opportunity.
I mean, I didn't do that as a kid. I was more like, when I was in Catholic school, I was curious about what the priest's robe felt like. And so, like, one day when the priest walked down the aisle in the typical fashion that, Catholic masses happen, like, I just reached over real quick, felt his robe, and then stopped. Of course, later on, I was in Catholic school at the time. And so later on in class, like, the teacher was like, and John was over there trying to trip the priest. And I'm like, I just wanted to feel his robe. It looked cool. So, I mean, I didn't have my foot out in the thing. Like, whenever I was in church because I wanted to be in church.
The preacher stood up. I began to laugh at him in my mind. I made fun of him in my head. I thought, somebody get this old skinny dude a sandwich. I had it all worked out in my head.
I mean, that's how I feel about Timothy Oliphant in the Justified City Primeval. I think he needs a sandwich. Daniel M says, I could see him being an asshole and coal rolling the church.
Hey, GE, this person just donated a whole bunch of money. You might want to give them some attention.
Thank you there, Daniel M. I appreciate you for that. And I mean, I could see an asshole coal rolling a church. I could definitely see that.
I had seen enough church to know that this nut was going to spit and holler for a while, and when he gets tired, he'll tell us to stand up and bow our heads and close our eyes, and when he did, I would split. But during the service, something happened. All of the things I had ever done and boasted of, I began to be ashamed of. In particular, that Friday that I was telling you about earlier. As the service progressed, I began to hate what I had loved just minutes before. Not only that, but the God that I hated, I began to love. He whom I had literally screamed and cursed to leave me alone, I now wanted to know. When the time came for me to make my getaway, my foot betrayed me. Instead of stepping towards the door to get out, I stepped towards the altar, and he came in. I repented.
I stepped towards the I stepped towards the altar, and he came inside me. Like, this is not the flex you think it is there, bud. Sorry, I gotta take some insulin real quick. That beer is finally catching up with me. I knew it would. It was just a matter of time. Anyways, so the sexual innuendo of all religious like speeches and everything, especially this one, is just thick. And it's thick. Just gonna stop right there. So God came into him, and obviously he's talking about the Holy Spirit filling him up and everything like that. See, it's not getting better. And it's just getting harder and harder. That's right. But typically at this point, when people tell me this kind of thing, I ask them what differentiates their experience from other people of other religions that have had similar experiences, like, you know, Muslims that have had an experience that suggested to them that Allah was real and all this other stuff. So just to get serious for a moment, what differentiates this experience from any other experience? Oh, excuse me. From any other experience that he's had or other religious people of other religions have had.
Of my sins and believed the gospel. Everything changed. I got in my car and drove back to where I was staying.
He didn't coal roll. or at this point in time, considering how old he is, he's like, I didn't throw gravel. When he said that he backed into the parking lot, I imagined a gravel-laden parking lot in front of like a small church, right? And so like when he leaves, I imagine him being the kind of asshole that would like punch it and cause like gravel to get thrown at the church as he left. Like that's the demeanor that he described prior to his little. Yeah, Jesus came inside him and he decided not to do that.
I went straight to the building, uncovered that trunk, busted it open, and got the 2 Bibles. I opened them for the very first time.
Can you imagine this dramatic scene? Like he goes into his uncle's barn and he looks over in the corner like, you motherfucker. He throws off everything and he takes his hand and he punches through the top of the chest. He pulls out the one white Bible and he's like, oh, I got it. All dramatic and shit. Like he just pulled the fucking sword from the stone.
In both of them were love letters written to me by both of my grandmothers.
Oh, that's sweet.
I spent years of my life feeling like unwanted and unloved trash. But right in front of me for all of those years was a book full of little notes written to me by someone who loved me.
I mean, it sounded like you needed therapy. Like, if that's how you felt going through life, you needed therapy, not religion. Like, I feel religion in this particular aspect, like of mental health and everything like that, I feel like religion helps mask the problems, but it doesn't actually deal with the problems. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use religion to deal with your problems. You obviously can. I'm just saying that how he's describing it and how a lot of people use religion as far as their problems go, it seems like it's just a mask for the problems. It doesn't actually solve the problems.
After I went through the notes stuffed inside, I began to read the pages themselves. And I discovered the entire book is a love letter written to me. It tells me.
That's a weird way to describe the Bible, especially when God says, and utterly destroy all them motherfuckers in that city. The Midianites, the Jebusites, the Canaanites, the whoever in the fuckasites. Yeah, he really needs to reread that shit if he thinks that it's communicating love there. Like, God snapped his fingers and killed a whole bunch of kids in Egypt because he couldn't think of a better way to get his people out of Egypt. which didn't happen historically, by the way. That's this bullshit story. Like, there were no Hebrew slaves in Egypt that built pyramids and other buildings and everything like that. Like, none of that actually happened.
Me how evil I am, and it hit the nail on the head, and yet still God loved me in spite of myself. Now, I'm not who I used to be. I'm not what I'd like to be. But Christ did a work in my heart, and he took away the hatred that I had for God, for others, and for myself. Ahab cried out, "Thou damned whale," as he died. But it wasn't the whale who was damned.
And the whale lifted its dick out of the water and waved goodbye to Ahab as a big middle finger to that asshole.
It was Ahab. To the angry atheist, I say to you, there's a reason why you focus your attention on the God of the Bible.
Because we're constantly faced with the God of the Bible every day in our political environments, in our social environments, and we're constantly having Jesus shoved down our throat. I mean, it's to the point where there are literal signs on the side of the highways. It's like, heaven, hell, where are you going to go? Call this number so that you can learn about Jesus. Like, motherfucker, this billboard is in the United States. You think people haven't heard about Jesus? Like, there are literal billboards that are like, have you heard about Jesus today? Oh shit, who's this Jesus motherfucker? I don't know who that guy is. I mean, I was born in 1984, but I don't know who Jesus fucking is. Are you fucking... And this is like in Florida and Alabama and fucking Georgia. Like, these are deep red religious states, and you're gonna waste money on billboards talking about fucking Jesus? But yeah, it's because we're faced with it every single day. Like, especially here in America and other parts of the world, we're faced with people wanting to force Jesus on us. That's why.
It's because his holiness haunts you.
I'm not haunted by anything other than the fucking Black Demon movie that is going to haunt me for the rest of my life because I specifically chose that movie. It was my fault, and that's going to haunt me. That bad movie choice. It's the only one. Casey said no. It's not the only bad movie choice.
And if you don't repent and believe the gospel as I did, then he, like Ahab's whale, will drag you down, down, down to hell in judgment.
So, wait a second. Is the devil doing that, or is God dragging us down to hell? Because, I mean, I feel like hell is just down and God just has to let us fall, so he doesn't have to drag us. I mean... The devil would have to drag us, I guess. But it depends on your definition of the devil, because there are some evangelists. Sorry, I totally blanked on that word right there. There are some evangelists that claim that the devil is suffering in hell along with us. Not that he rules over hell, because God rules over hell. So it really depends on your definition of all this shit. Kind of seems like he thinks that God is the ruler of hell and that God drags people down to hell because they choose not to follow him. And honestly, I feel like that's the weakest reason to, like, throw somebody in a pit of fire forever. Like, you want to talk about fucking snowflakes. I mean, somebody's like, oh, I don't really care for you all that much. Well, burn in eternity forever, motherfucker. And it's like, whoa, hold on there, snowflake. Like, if that's the case, God is the snowflakiest of all the snowflakes. And I don't think that's the flex that you want to make it out to be. I just don't think that you want your God to be a snowflake. And that's exactly what Christians portray their God as. Because, listen, their God is triggered by some of the most mundane shit in the Bible. The love letter that he wrote to this particular motherfucker. Like, there's this one part I always like to bring up, and that's where God gets pissed off because the wrong fire is used to light the incense, and so he blows a couple of motherfuckers up with a shadookin to the asshole. Right? So, I mean, God is the flakiest of all the snowflakes. Okay? And I don't think that Christians really want to make God out to be that kind of like weak person.
But if you'll turn from your sin and believe him, he who is your greatest enemy will become your dearest friend and father.
I've already got a daddy. I don't need another dad. I don't need a father. Because I've already got enough fathers in my life. I don't need another one. I don't know why you think I would need another one. I don't know why you need another one.
So I beg you, repent and believe the gospel.
No, I mean, I don't repent for anything. Because, as I've said before, I think that I'm better than his God. So I'm definitely not going to repent to his God, because his God has done things that I would never envision myself doing. I'm better than the things that God has already done in the Bible. If he were to exist and the Bible represents his God, I'm better than his God. It's just a simple fact. Everybody nowadays is better than his God. I don't know why they hold on to this idea.
No classical apologetics message that I ever present will change your mind about anything. Only the gospel.
I mean, considering that the gospel is not representative of reality, that's not going to convince me either. So you're going to have to figure out something better. Like, the Bible's not going to be good evidence for anybody that is critical of the Bible.
Can take your hard heart, soften it, and make you receptive.
If you've got a hard heart, you need to see a cardiologist. I'm just saying. Like, I think that his heart is soft, but that's just because all hearts are soft if they're healthy. He doesn't seem like an unhealthy individual. And I hope that everybody watching this stream right now is a healthy individual, and that you don't have a calcified fucking heart.
To the love that God has for you.
Burris. In omnia excellentia. It's cool because it's in Latin.
All right, that's it for the video tonight. We do have some Skeptic Mafia comments to go through, so if you want to hang around for the Skeptic Mafia comments, we'd really appreciate it. If you don't know, the Skeptic Mafia are those that have joined the memberships here on the channel. That's what we call the memberships, the Skeptic Mafia. You get to choose the video that we watch on Friday nights if you join the Skeptic Mafia, so please consider doing that. And before you leave out, make sure you leave a comment down below. I'd really love to hear what you guys think about tonight's video. Do you think that he accurately represented atheist issues with the God of the Bible? Do you think that he represented atheists all that well? Let me know. Casey says no. But I want you to let me know what you think in the comments down below. And while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we got the Skeptic Mafia comments to go through. I got them pulled up right here. Last time I checked, we didn't have all that much to really go through. All right, so any super chats that are sent while I'm reviewing the Skeptic Mafia stuff, we'll have to wait until after I get done, but we will try to get through these pretty quick. Daniel M is the first one up, saying at least he admits to not being taught sorry, my dyslexia is really turned up to 11 right now. At least he admits to not be talking about all atheists. However, it doesn't seem he is talking to atheists at all. He says that he was once like you, his audience, when he was angry at God, but didn't doubt God's existence. The last I checked, that is still belief. Oh, well, enough of that shit. It's Big Brother time! So far, I'm thinking Circe, is that right? Siri and Jordan have themselves a good position, but don't realize the potential there with them being the opposite sides of the house. Siri. Jordan. I thought it was. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, realize the potential there with them being on opposite sides of the house, or at least they aren't making their move all the way yet. David wants to see Bowie Jan win. It's funny, David absolutely loves Big Brother and follows it. Last year, when his favorite player was voted out, he was so disappointed. I'm definitely liking the scary verse. Oh, it's Jared? Sari and Jared. So I don't know. I think, I mean, the best alliances in Big Brother history have been when, you know, they have this secret alliance where one person's part of one group and another person's part of another group. So I think that if they play their game right, they could be fine and they could make it to the end. You know, because both of them are working on both of their groups to keep each other. So if anything comes up, you know, so I think that it could be perfectly fine. And it's so cute that David follows Big Brother. Like, I don't know. That's great that y'all share that. Mr. Hanachek says, oh, sorry, I scrolled way past it. As this guy says that we are angry atheists, it really blows my mind on how little he actually thinks of us. I think I'm going to step out and head to the mountains tonight. I might listen in and join in if I have a connection again. Hopefully KC won't show up, be on the mic again, and show me up for not being there. Hoping to catch some of the shooting stars are left over for the meteor shower. Cool. Meteor shower is pretty cool. I'm glad that you were able to get to see that. And being out in the clean air in the mountains is always great. So I hope you had fun there, Jonathan. Next, we got Trickster, who says, atheists do not hate God. They do not hate something they don't believe in, even though they may hate what is done in God's names. Also, most atheists don't say that God does not exist. They only say that there is not enough evidence to believe in a God or gods. As for not wanting there to be a God, most atheists are former believers who, while searching for their God, found only more questions, some of which could not be answered. Good points there, Trickster. I am sorry to hear that guy's comment section is filled with hate and don't agree with anyone who would take that stance. I believe it is always better to discuss our differences and maybe learn something about ourselves. Last but not least, am I the only one who found his I was just like you story a bit sus? No. I found it pretty sus, but that's because, like I said, he's a pastor and, you know, Jesus in the Bible taught through parables that weren't true. So I don't know if it was true. I don't know if that personal story was true. Right. And nothing that he described makes him like us. That's what KC just said. And I totally agree with that. Like, he was not an atheist, even though he was trying to portray himself as an atheist. So I don't know. I do disagree with the hates in his, with the hate-filled speech in his comment sections. I don't think that anybody should come in hot with the hate-filled speech, but I haven't seen a lot of his content, so maybe his content fuels that kind of behavior. Not to victim blame or nothing. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that, like, I think that people, even in the face of somebody being bigoted towards you, it's always the better position to not stoop to their level and become aggressive. Because, you know, as I know intimately, you should always remain cool and respond in a reasonable and non-confrontational way as possible. There are some topics where I get that that's not exactly like feasible, I guess. I know that there are some topics that are a lot more personal, and I'm not trying to judge anybody if they do lose their cool, but not losing your cool always has you in the better position. Thank you, Trickster, for your comment. Deus Ex Tomato with all of the best ASCIIs is in the house, saying it's like he doesn't understand at all what atheist means. He's thinking of misotheists from the Greek adjective mistheos. hating the gods or God hating, a compound of something that means hatred and something that means God, which is like Deus, maybe. Only got to listen to the first minute or so of this, and from the sounds of it, he's after his own white whale. But enough on that, on to the ASCII. Fail whales all around. A pod of fail whales coming in. Oh, come on. You know I had to use that ASCII. It was perfect. Anyway, if you don't want to get caught up in the pod of fail whales, go ahead and give this video a like and smash that subscribe and ding the bell. Go ahead and join the Skeptic Mafia for all the perks. Insert a generic shilling here. We do have a pretty busy later half of the year coming up. So I don't know if I can promise too much of the Skeptic Mafia podcast or of the Daily Bible podcast. But what I can promise you is that we will do our best to get what episodes we can get out. We just have a really busy second half of the year coming up. So just keep that in mind. But there's your shilling. It's not the best shilling, but it's all I got. And remember, KC is almost always right, especially when she's wrong. Tomatoes are fucking delicious. Drink some fucking water and eat your goddamn fruits and vegetables. I drink a lot of water every single fucking day. Every day I'm just pounding this size of cups, just one right after another. Kevin Beeler says anyone who watched this video would be angry about wasting 9 minutes and 57 seconds of their life. Lol, but you should watch it anyways. Chris, I can't remember your last name. So sorry. Nickel. Jonathan Nickel, not Chris. Where the fuck did I get Chris from? Jonathan Nickel, thank you. Jonathan Nickel says, it is clear that he who has no clue why some atheists are angry. He talks as though they are angry at God, and specifically he singles out the Abrahamic God. He narrows it down further by excluding Muslims, as though ex-Muslims do not also go through the angry atheist phase. I think that that was his persecution complex talking. Well, I think that he's definitely perceiving the world through a specific lens, and that it's tough for him to see the world without that lens. It's tough for him to take off those Christ-colored glasses. What he doesn't seem to realize that because most theists in America are Christians, when atheists in the U.S. leave the religion, that is where they are likely going to vent their rage. I was never an angry atheist. I was never religious, but I am aware that many people who come out of religion do go through that stage, and they have every reason to do so. It's not that they are angry at God, but rather at their former indoctrination, the nonsense they were led to believe was real, and the eternal promise that they now realize is empty, and at the fact that they were forced to believe a lie, in many cases by everyone they knew. They don't still know that God exists. If they did, they wouldn't be atheists. His final act of misrepresentation is a claim about himself being angry at God, leading him to act like a jerk until he changed his mind in the middle of a church service he was forced to endure. Whether or not that was a true story, it in no way represents the angry atheist. It was just a poor analogy that rounded out a straw man monologue. These people really need to do their research before they make fools of themselves. I totally agree there, Jonathan. Thank you so much. This is Darren, 77 Nails. It's really throwing me off that they don't have the display names now. That's fucking dumb. I was a very angry atheist when I first got neck deep in my deconstruction. I wasn't angry at God, as this moron claims. I was angry at the indoctrination. I was angry at the years I had wasted and the decisions I had made based on a bunch of bullshit. I was angry and not digging into my doubts when I was younger. I was angry at the church as a whole. I had some anger towards my parents even. Once again, another preacher claiming to know what we atheists think and feel. I am now angry at this asshole also. Lol, a lot of my anger is gone, but there is some anger that will never go away. I get that too. Like, not over religion, but over other stuff in my life. Like, there are just some things that are harder to move past than others. So I totally feel you on that, Darren. I am now angry at, a lot of my anger is gone, but there's still some anger that will never go away. The anger towards the church and what they're doing to women, the LGBTQIA plus community, the poor, the minority groups, and what they're doing in politics. I wouldn't care if they would just go about their business and live their lives how they want to live and believe what they want to believe without feeling the need to force their beliefs on everyone else. But they can't. So I will stay angry at them and won't stop until something changes. This video only appealed to his followers to help them follow a generalization about all atheists and agnostics, etc. As usual, the apologist shows up spewing about things he actually knows nothing about, just makes empty, baseless claims. That's right. He did. Thank you so much for all the Skeptic Mafia members giving us a comment, letting us know how they feel about all this bullshit that they've witnessed tonight. I appreciate everybody in the comment section right now giving us their thoughts and feelings and everything like that. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all being here. I may stream a little bit tomorrow. Little unsure about that. Kind of depends on how the day goes. But other than all that, that's our stream for tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I got to go and get my son to bed. And we'll probably hang out and watch a movie or something, or watch a TV show, something like that. I don't know. Night's not over, but it's over for us. Anyways, I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. Bye, heathens. Have an awesome weekend.